Welcome to an edition of Anthony T's Horror Collection. I'm Anthony T. Now, before I get into this edition of Anthony T's Horror Collection, I have a couple of YouTube updates. First, later this week, I'll have a Q&A up from Scares That Cares, as I recently filmed the Theater of Terror Q&A after the screening of the film. This is definitely a very good film that you should be checking out. It's more of a horror anthology type film, which is very good. You can find more information on that film at theaterofterror.net. And then next week, I'll have another edition of Anthony T's Horror Collection, where I'll be showing off all the Scares That Cares stuff that I picked up at the convention. Plus, I'll have episode 26, somewhere in between, of Anthony T's Horror Show, where I'll talk about the convention that I was recently at, Scares That Cares, and also some news that I've been waiting to get to, but haven't, because I've been so busy with Scares That Cares and other stuff. So you can probably expect episode 26 to drop either later this week or next. With that, here's what I've picked up recently. Films in this edition of Anthony T's Horror Collection are all DVDs. First, you have Gaspar Noé's latest film, Climax. This is definitely a great film. This is definitely by far the best film I've seen all year so far. And it's definitely worth checking out. I will go more into this film on episode 26, as I talk about the best films of 2019 so far. I may do it solo, or I may have a guest. Stay tuned. The next film is Don't Look. I haven't seen it yet, but I recently heard an interview on the Wicked Horror Show podcast over at the Dorkening. This looks interesting from the trailer, so I decided to pick it up. I'm hoping it's good, so don't quote me if it's not good. And the final DVD that I picked up recently was a film called High Death. This is more of a horror anthology film from the makers of High 8, Horror Independent 8. And this also looks like to be an anthology film. And I also love the tag that it's unrated, so it's probably going to be very gory. I plan on checking this film out soon. Now let's dive into the sales. Let's start off with the Arrow video sale that I picked up a couple DVDs from on diabolicdvd.com. Now the first film is Cole Lobos, and this film is insane. This is very gory, very different type of horror film. I'm surprised I did not catch this film when it first came out, because this is a very good film, but I probably could understand why I didn't catch it the first time around. It was because of the lousy cover art the film had. As you're seeing here, this is not the cover art that was used in the original DVD release of the film. But I'm happy that I checked this film out. This is very good. And you may be hearing me talk more about this film on a future episode of Anthony T's Horror Show podcast. The next film is The Addiction, directed by Abel Ferrara. It stars Lily Taylor and Christopher Walken. Enough said, that's why I picked it up. Plus, I never got a chance to see this film when it came out back, I believe, in the 90s. Let me just double check. And yeah, it came back in the 90s. The film was originally released. So this film finally got the Blu-ray treatment, which is good. Now, if we can get some of the other great horror films on Blu-ray, that would be awesome. And finally, Kevin Costner's in Waterworld. No, not Kevin Costner's Waterworld. But this is probably one of the biggest Hollywood disasters in the history of cinema. It was a okay film. I didn't mind revisiting it since this has like three different cuts of the film. So it was worth getting it just to see if it's actually better with another cut instead of the cut that was presented in theaters. The next three films are films that I picked up during the Ronin Flicks sale. The first one is Delirium, which is directed by Lamberto Bava, who directed Demons and Demons 2. This was an entertaining giallo. I wouldn't say this was his best film, but I had a good time with this film, and I thought it was entertaining. The film does a really good job moving at a good pace, and it features Daria Nicolai, who's most notably known for some of Dario Argento's films. So definitely take a chance on Delirium if you have the time. The next film is Richard Stanley's Hardware. This is a very good film that stars Dylan McDermott, who you may know from American Horror Story. This is an intense sci-fi horror film, which also features Iggy Pop and Stacey Travis. This is definitely a film you should definitely check out. I'm glad I was finally able to upgrade from the single DVD to the Blu-ray for this film, as this is a very good film and is worth checking out if you're a fan of sci-fi horror, as Hardware is an entertaining film from start to finish. And the final film is The Witchmaker. Now this looks like a very trashy B-movie, but I'm willing to give it a chance. The trailer looked good. It could be, well, a B-movie, and might not go so well. But I figured I'd give it a chance since there was a sale where you could get free shipping and a discount if you got these three films or any of the films that were listed. So I decided to take a chance on The Witchmaker. The next set of films are films that I picked up during the Vinegar Syndrome halfway to Black Friday sale. The first film that I'm going to talk about is Night Beast. I won't go into this a lot since I've already did an episode of Viva La Troma featuring this film. But it's a good film. It's nothing special. I thought it was a good film. Thought the music was good, the action was good, but I wouldn't say it's one of the best Troma films out there, but it was worth the purchase. So it's worth getting if you're a fan of Troma or Don Doler. If you're not a fan of Don Doler, you might not get this film, or you might get this film, then I really would suggest you check out his other films, The Alien Factor and The Galaxy Invader. The next film is a double feature. It's Battle for the Lost Planet and Mutant War. Now, these films are both directed by Brett Piper. I had a good time with both of these films. If I had to say which one was the better one, I would probably say Mutant War, as I enjoyed that a little more than Battle for the Lost Planet. But it's very nice to see that some of Brett Piper's older films are being released on Blu-ray. I hope there's more Brett Piper films released on Blu-ray, because I would love to see more of his earlier work compared to his other work in the early 2000s with Screaming Dead and Shockorama. So it's very nice to see a Brett Piper title end up on Blu-ray for once. And the final film is The Suckling. And this film is what you expect, a guilty pleasure film. It's not going to blow people away. As you can see, the cover art, I feel like it's a little misleading. Yes, there's a baby involved, kind of, that turns into this hideous creature. But it's good if you're into really bad 80s horror. This is one of those films you should check out, as this acts more of a guilty pleasure film than a film that I would go out of my way to recommend. But if you're into really bad horror films from the 80s, this is definitely one of those films you should check out. The other films I picked up during the Vinegar Syndrome halfway to Black Friday sale include A Woman's Torment. I haven't seen this film yet, but I liked Roberta Finlay's Prime Evil, and I thought Lurkers was okay, so I figured, why not check this film out, especially when it's 50% off, so I decided to give this film a try. Now, the next film is Satan's Slave. Now, this film is directed by Norman G. Warren. He's done some very good films such as Prey, Terror, and Bloody New Year. So, when I heard Vinegar Syndrome was releasing Satan's Slave, I definitely had to pick this film up because I wanted to really see this film because I like Norman J. Warren's films. Sometimes I will buy films if I like a director's work, and Norman J. Warren is one of the directors that I really like, so it was easy call to pick up this film. And finally, the out-of-print Disconnected. Now, I didn't pick this up at the sale, but I picked this film up like when it had like maybe 3, 4, 5 copies left. I knew I had to jump on this right away or risk not getting it. I decided to pick this up. I saw this film. I thought it was a very good film. Very different from what I was expecting. It's more one of those cerebral kind of horror films, as it focuses on the psychological aspects. And it really has an ending which makes you wonder what happened. That's all I'm going to say. It'll make you wonder what happened. Because it felt a little ambiguous, which sometimes is a good thing. And with this one, I kind of agree that it was okay to have the ambiguous ending, because it makes you think, and that's what I like to see in some films that make you think, and this is one of them, especially the ending of this film. The next 4 films are films that I picked up over at the Full Moon's 4th of July sale over at fullmoondirect.com. The first film is Slave Girls from Beyond Infinity. This film stars Elizabeth Catan and Brink Stevens. This is definitely going to be one of those films that I was going to upgrade once I first heard this film would be on Blu-ray. And I did pick it up during the sale, so I can't wait to check this out again, especially with the new high-definition transfer of the film. The next film is Necropolis. Now, this is a film that I'm interested in because I really want to see the next film in that series, as this is a sequel that originally, I believe, finished shooting, called Necropolis Legion, which stars Augie Duke and Lynn Lowry. I wanted to see the original before I see that film. So, with Full Moon's $6 DVD sale, I figured this was the right time to pick this film up and see what this film is all about. The next film is Morgana. I saw this when it first came on DVD. I thought it was an okay film. It also has Michelle Bauer and Joe Estevez in it, so it was worth checking out the first time around. And hey, $6 plus I'm a fan of Julie Strain, so it was worth picking up Morgana. And I figured I'll give it a second viewing to see if my opinion has changed on this film. Since I love vampire films, so. And I kind of like the ending of the film, so I figured I'd give this another try. And finally, the daytime ended. Now, this is a film that ended up on Mystery Science Theater 3000. I believe it was the recent season on Netflix. And viewing that film, Mystery Science Theater 3000, Mystery Science Theater 3000, was a very good idea that this film is probably going to be a bad film. But hey, it's $10 plus. It would be nice to see a film that was featured on Mystery Science Theater 3000 the way it was intended to be seen, and not with all the commentary and everything. So I'm interested to see if I actually like this film, or it's just really bad. Now, two things that I picked up are action figures. First figure that I picked up was Blade from the original Puppet Master series. This one I also picked up during the Full Moon's 4th of July sale. I figured I'd pick this up since it's $5. Why not? Plus, I really love Puppet Master. And please, I really hope you make the next figure that you have on the back of this box. Because I want a Torch figure. Seriously. I don't care. I would like a nice little Torch action figure. I would do anything for a little Torch action figure. I hope Full Moon Features does this and makes a Torch action figure in the future. And finally, the other action figure I picked up was the Toxic Avenger. Pretty much a basic figure, but I figured I'd pick it up before it goes out of print, and then the cost skyrockets, which is never a good thing when you really want something and the cost is like $80 for a little figure like this, since they go out of print. So I definitely rushed to grab it at a reasonable price. I think I got it for like under $15, which I don't mind paying because I really love the Toxic Avenger a lot. So I picked this up with no questions asked. I want to thank you for watching this edition of Anthony T's Horror Collection. Have a good day and support indie horror.